This is where I live now. Been here for a year. Moved here with my Russian wife, and then 8 days later, what happened? Special military operation. A video of myself in the historic toilet, but I'm not in action. GUM is where when they filmed Mission Impossible here, one of their Mission Impossible movies.
Are you raising your kids the American or Russian way? Or, by the way, this is FSB building, all right?
Yeah, that's it. Why would they waste time doing something like this if they're just bad guys?
Why you brought me to the FSB building?
Americans don't think about Russia or really know Russia as a real place with real people and families. And
I'm actually walking with a foreign agent cap next to FSB building.
Got connections, you better watch yourself.
There.
What's what?
Police.
Oh.
We'll tell them to subscribe.
You've got honest Hal's, guys. You can believe him when you see his videos. I didn't have my American passport or my wallet. Hello and welcome to Expat American. I am the Expat American. That was just a demo. This is not Expat American. You're on Igor in Russia. Who really is tolerant? With the bells.
All right, what's up, guys? This is Igor in Russia together in Moscow with
an American.
Yes, Expat American. In this video, we're gonna walk in infamous Moscow center, and we're gonna talk about, of course, a lot of different things. Just two foreigners, especially American, living in Moscow, reacting to certain topics. Let's see what we come up. This is unscripted.
Igor in Russia with the Expat American, not in America.
And if you're new to the channel, I'm Igor in Russia, like he said, coming from the West and filming the beautiful world of Russia from a Western perspective. And he's an American living in Moscow. So enough of the introductions, cut the bullshit, and and we're gonna just let's see where we're gonna be headed. Actually, we're gonna be heading to something very American, right?
That's correct. We're going to go to an... Blew it. Sorry about that.
It's a surprise. We finally met. We made a video like a while ago.
That's right. We did a, what's it called? Via satellite video? Through YouTube. You're at your desk, I'm at mine. We're in two different cities.
From the Russian Mir satellite station.
That's
we
right.
had an internet connection, and we made a video discussing, and now we're finally meeting here, like physically.
And
like,
you know, in my video, I did the intro right here, and now you're actually here.
That's the only reason I'm here.
Red Square, guys, take
Yes.
a look around. You know all these buildings? I hope you do. This is where I live now. I've been here for a year. Moved here with my Russian wife, and then 8 days later, what happened? Special military operation. So this is famous GUM Mall behind us. This is the historic museum castle. And then over here you have the Red Wall, Red Square.
That's Kremlin, right?
Kremlin right there. And then St. Basil's. My first date with my Russian wife in St. Basil's. We went on a date in St. Basil's.
Okay.
Actually, it wasn't my first date, but it was probably I guess you could say it was my first date with her in Russia.
That's well, that's beautiful. That's not a bad place at all.
Yeah. So we're walking out of Red Square now, and if you don't know, Red Square is a cobblestone space. It's like a football field. It's a rectangle, and it's got famous Russian buildings all around it. Like we showed before, St. Basil's, the Kremlin, the Red Wall, this castle, this red castle's the Historic State Museum. It's got a lot of cool things inside to see. And this is their famous mall. This is the longest structure here.
You guys gonna see it on my video. I went to full exploration inside.
Boom.
Yes. The only thing that I didn't do is go to this historical toilet that cost 200 rubles.
I've been to the historical toilet.
You have a video of it. Not you in the toilet, but of the toilet.
I have a video of myself in the historic toilet, but I'm not in action, I would say.
All right.
Actually, GUM is where when they filmed Mission Impossible here, one of their Mission Impossible movies, because people say, oh, they were on green screen. Well, yes, the actors were on green screen, but the crew did come and they stood on the roof of GUM.
Wow.
And they filmed Red Square. So when you see Red Square in that movie and Tom Cruise running around, it is actually Red Square. And if you've been here, you can tell it's the exact same layout.
Speaking of Americans, are you good doing Russian impression? You know, of the Russian accent.
Well, I can, but wait, this guy's too loud.
Yeah.
I can absolutely do an American accent. I usually refrain from doing so, and I usually refrain from wearing Did I say American? Russian accent.
Russian, yeah.
And I usually refrain from wearing Russian clothing because, you know, I'm not Russian and I'm not sure if my Russian subscribers would appreciate it.
But what is Russian clothing?
Well, you know, the traditional garb.
The Lenin wear.
Yeah. Like, you'll see my little kids wearing it, but they are actually Russian. This
video is getting weird, humoristic vibes to it.
That's good.
That's good because it's just the real thing. Just
Dude,
you two guys in
it has
Moscow.
to be that way. In my videos, I try to be as real as possible. I want to work hard to get to myself, and you want the video to be interesting, quick, funny, all that stuff. So we are on Nikolaevskaya Street.
Yeah, it's the party street,
right off of Red Square, and it's what I would call a city walk as an American, meaning there's no cars on it. It connects right to Red Square. They hang these lights up year-round, even though it's not Christmas time.
Winter,
And I believe Nikolaevskaya Street is the name, which is named after Saint Nicholas, which is I think a Catholic or Orthodox saint.
Yes.
And is it Catholic or Orthodox?
I think both.
Probably before
Both.
the split, right?
Yeah. What it's like to live? It's a big question. But what is it like to live actually in Russia, and especially Moscow? You also traveled around, but let's focus on Moscow. That's where you live.
Da.
Yes. So how is it?
Well, I love Moscow because I come from a small town, and so I'm kind of spoiled living here. I always had a car as an adult in America. You have to. But since I moved here about a year and a half ago, I haven't yet bought a car. I don't need one because the metro system is so great. And you just have everything you want here. And on top of that, the city is clean and it's safe. I mean, I don't know about statistics, but I don't see any crime. And I don't see that much graffiti either.
But what about if we go deeper, a level deeper, about living in Russia among Russians? You spoke something about values in our discussion, but do you feel better? Worse? Do you miss America? What do you miss about, because you talk a lot of the exterior things, and these I totally agree with.
So as far as not exterior, deeper stuff, I personally am a Christian first, so it doesn't matter so much to me American or Russian. I want the traditional family values culture. Whatever you think that means. I want to live in a world where people are of good character and are polite, and my 19-year-old daughter can go to university by herself and I don't have to worry about her being killed, if that makes sense. And so, I look around here and I feel like I'm living with people that, grew up with the same culture that I grew up with, even though it's a different country. Now, the culture's not exactly the same, but the parts that are the same are the parts that matter to me. These are people that, whether they know it or not, they grew up on biblical principles. They grew up with the philosophizing. Is that a word?
It is now.
From like Athens. They grew up with German fairy tales. They grew up with British customs. It is the same culture in that respect, if that makes sense.
What about your kids? Because I know Russian kids can be raised a little bit not harsh, but strict. Are you raising your kids the American or Russian way, or what?
Well, if you put it like that, I guess I would say I'm raising them more the Russian way. I mean, I was raised by firm parents, and I raised my kids firm, and I think firm is loving. I have high standards to them, and I expect them to be the best that they can be. So I think in that regard, I mesh well with the Russian system. I wasn't even allowed to watch music videos as a kid. Perhaps
Whoa.
That's too intense.
Whoa.
I rebelled a bit from that, and I let my kids play some video games. But I almost regret it because my older kids are a little bit too obsessed with video games, in my opinion. So my younger kids, I'm going to keep them off electronics for as long as I can. I want them playing outside, This city is always under construction.
Yeah,
They're always working on stuff. They're always making it better.
I'm arriving here as a St. Petersburgian, especially, right? And I've noticed a lot of differences. Now I know when people say there's big difference between St. Petersburg and Moscow. They're two different worlds, sort of. But in Moscow, everything is built in even the center, and in St. Petersburg, you're not able to build because they're protected. It is also one of the top cities in Russia that people want to move into. I think like third of people want to move to St. Petersburg. Those who want to move at all.
That makes sense.
But I guess Moscow would be number one, possibly.
Right. Yeah, I've heard that all these ancient buildings in St. Petersburg, you cannot touch them.
Yeah.
And they have to be very careful. And so they're like propping up these really, really old fronts.
By the way, this is FSB building, all right?
Yeah. That's the FSB building. And before we walk away from this, like I said, these flowers, I mean, if you're wondering, is Russia good? Is Russia bad? Is their government good? Is their government bad? Why would they waste time doing something like this if they're just bad guys? Even if you're not bad guys, you're just a normal country, still, why would you waste your money doing something like this for people? Yeah. And I see examples of this everywhere in this city.
People think that Russia is like North Korea, concrete and...
Absolutely, and it's not. It is so nice, and you won't believe me unless you come see it for yourself.
But I would say that, sure, the exterior is beautiful in Russia, often, and I actually love the less beautiful places, even more maybe. I go to the suburbs, but the best thing in Russia is actually within. I honestly think that the Russian people, and you always also cover that in your answers, the Russian people are very good people, despite what you read, and this is not a video try to attack your thoughts and stereotypes, but you cannot escape. Anybody who's traveled to Russia will say that, even like if it's a one-time tourist or anything, it will say, hey, the Russian people were nice. And if they weren't, probably they just didn't have a common language, because Russians won't open up unless if they don't know what you're speaking of. You know,
they will be honest with you, and sometimes that can be off-putting at first if, let's say, you're a Westerner and you're used to people always smiling to your face.
Yeah.
But then you realize, wait, I can trust this person because they're going to be straight with me.
Yeah.
And they actually care about me, which is why they're being so honest with me.
We cannot escape the question, why you brought me to the FSB building?
Because I want you to know that I've been living here in this city for a long time, and I've got connections, and you better watch yourself.
And you can, as a foreigner, as an American, that probably many know about already in Russia, you can walk freely here.
Yes, right by the building, it's no problem.
I actually walked I did a live stream, and I walked next to the building, and the dude was eyeing me a long time. I switched lanes.
You know, on the point of Russians being like nice but also honest, like I was watching one of your videos recently when you were here, and some kids on the street, they looked at your live stream or whatever, and they very quickly said, "Oh, that's not that many people watching." And I was on a train to Karelia.
Don't embarrass me.
No, but me too, because I was on a train to Karelia a couple of days ago, and my wife was telling the guy, "Oh, this guy's got a popular YouTube channel."
Yeah.
And he wanted to see it, so she showed him my expat American screen, and he looks at it and he goes, "That's not that many subscribers."
Yeah. Russia is so huge that, you know, there's 145 million, and when people are popular here, that means millions and millions of subscribers, and oh my God. So you can make a lot of money just being popular.
Yes.
And the movie stars in Russia, they're like legit Hollywood stars. They might be even more richer, I don't know.
Right. You know what's sad though is like Russians, they know they're movie stars and they know American stars. And they watch all the movies, Russian and American. But Americans, they completely lose out on the Russian culture of film. They don't know Russian movies. They don't know Russian movie stars. And what that means is Americans don't think about Russia or really know Russia as a real place with real people and families and culture and whatnot.
May I notice that or underline that I'm actually walking with a foreign agent cap next to FSB building. Should I take it off?
I have my passport,
I don't.
and if we got stopped, I could definitely explain to them who I am, and I don't think it would be a problem.
We'll tell them to subscribe. First time in Russia I got stopped by police was now in Moscow. I made a traffic violation on a, all right, that wasn't a bad, not so cool story. On a scooter. I went on a scooter with my wife, which is illegal because there's two persons.
Yes.
And I cut off. I thought I was cutting off in a quiet street of Moscow. And that car happened to be a police car. And I cut off from right to left, like quickly and illegally. So they stopped, and the police was nice. He came to me and he said, "Ребята, вы что?" That means like, guys, come on, something like that.
Yeah.
And he was like a commander in the back. Do you always carry a passport? Because it is, you have to, I guess.
I
by
do
law.
not. I barely carry my passport. I only have it on me now because I just came back from my train trip to Karelia.
That's yes, by the way. They heard us. Check it out. There.
What's what?
Police.
Oh, cool. Awesome.
So
I was a little freaked out when I first started vacationing here before I moved here.
Yeah,
because of all the movies I watched, and I was just afraid of the police. And after a while, I realized there was nothing to be afraid of.
I sometimes don't speak English, just to not to cause too much.
Well, when I first came here, I was careful of that. Like if I was going through like some security check or something, I just keep my mouth shut. But I don't do that anymore. I mean, and with the YouTube channel, I'm loudly speaking English on the street. It's like never a problem.
But I do feel a little bit, not worried, but more on edge than in St. Petersburg, because this is Moscow, Well, yes, for real. This is my first time, proper time in Moscow. And you saw that. Nobody stopped me in St. Petersburg. I come to Moscow, I get almost in trouble.
I saw your little video that you got stopped, and I was like, is this clickbait? And I watched it, and it wasn't clickbait.
It wasn't.
So you've got honest Hal's, guys. You can believe him when you see his videos.
And I know I don't lie about these things. I would lie. If I would lie, I would not lie about a scooter drive.
I was like, he got stopped by the police? He's supposed to have a meeting with me soon. What's going on here? He needs to be careful.
By the way, this was the fact that when I started this topic is that if you don't have a passport, they're gonna have to take you in probably no matter what, because they cannot give you the not sanction fee, or what is it? Anyway, the bill.
Because they have to check who you are. Well, I do have a copy of my passport in my wallet, and the reason why is because I was having a date with my wife at a mall in Moscow, and it was summertime last year. I was wearing shorts, and apparently my passport and wallet fell out of my shorts when we were at the table. And it was like a veranda. It was like outside. We realized this the next morning. I didn't have my American passport or my wallet, and we went looking for it. And then we finally decided, because you check all these different places, I didn't know where it fell out, and we ended up asking the mall security, because it was at a mall, and they were like, "Is it American? Hold on." And they were not friendly about it, but they weren't mean either. But they were serious, because they can't go giving away passports to anybody. And they had my passport and my wallet, and everything was in it, cash as well. And but
it wasn't
never
doubled.
happen in America.
It wasn't doubled.
No. So I guess Russia's only good, not great, because I didn't get more money out of it.
But speaking of, by the way, safety, there's a lot of these. Mosheniki in Russian, who call you and steal money. They're on the loose. There's a lot of that activity. There are criminals here. They're advanced,
Where you have people, you have sin.
Yeah.
By the way, we're not on the city walk anymore. This is just a normal street in the center.
Behind FSB building.
Exactly.
That's over there. But it's enormous. So we have a surprise for you guys right till in the end.
Did you say what you thought the difference was between Moscow and St. Pete? I wanted to hear it. Moscow is more like New York, like a get-to-business city. But it still has plenty of fun activities because there's so many people living in one place.
Yeah.
You know, theaters and sports things you can do. And
is this the best city in the world? Can imagine almost this being the best city in the world.
Well,
is it my favorite? That's another video.
Well, for me, it probably is right now. I mean, because I have kids, I want good schools, and so I have good schools, and I don't have the crime. So if I went to a big city in America with good schools, I would have to put up with the crime. And St.
It's the safest.
I think so. St. Petersburg is more humid and colder. So if you're okay with that, St. Petersburg might be better, especially if you're an artistic person.
Yeah.
It's a more relaxed, casual place. It has more of a Venice, Paris look to it.
Yes.
So I think that to argue between Moscow and St. Petersburg, it's just for fun as a joke. But in reality, there's barely a meaningful difference, except one that might be specific to you who's watching this right now. Yes, you.
I was deeply offended when I saw in this Euros bar next to Red Square a souvenir called, it's a bag which says Moscow is better than St. Petersburg. They have this rivalry.
Yeah, of course. I mean,
is it like New York, LA?
Yeah, all cities do. College,
big cities, yeah.
You know, football teams, everything. You know, it's just human nature to compete, and that's good in a healthy way.
Are Moscovites, Moskvichi, are they unpolite?
Are Moscovites impolite?
Yeah. They say that Russians in general are not, but Moscovites are.
Yeah, they're less polite, from what I understand, than the rest of Russia, because it's a crowded place and they got to work and it's cold and they're busy and there's traffic. They're on the move.
Plus, they have a lot of money. Moscow is, I think it's the capital, of course, of money. It's, I think I read somewhere there's more millionaires than anywhere in the world. At least top 5 for sure. But and you can see it, you know, Lamborghinis, Ferraris, people dressed up in super expensive clothes and just being normal people, but their shoes are like $5,000, you know.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah,
So,
I don't know about nice fancy things either. I like spending money on experiences and moments, especially
Me too.
with my wife and kids and stuff like that.
what would you do if you would get a lot of money?
Gosh. I would probably make sure my kids' education was taken care of. I would probably set aside some of it to Christian organizations that I think are doing actual good work for the world. And I would travel. But I already get to
Where you want to travel?
Travel more.
Or where you want to travel? Russia or elsewhere as well?
Now that I'm learning about Russia, I want to see more of Russia. But I also want to see more of Europe, because I feel like I haven't gotten to see as much of Europe as I wanted to. But I would probably wait until things calm down around Europe, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
What's this?
Something beautiful. It's a monastery, probably.
Oh, cool.
At the monastery, да? Yeah, monastery.
Cool.
Anyway, you just go,
Awesome.
you can see some like monastery or like huge building or like a lot of historical events. And do you know how many people live here actually?
Well, I mean, that depends on if you're doing the city proper or the city oblast and how you count it.
And
but
illegals.
Yeah, it could be something like 20 million.
Yeah,
If you
correct.
Aim high.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah.
You live in the suburbs, right? Or city center? No address needed.
So, no.
Because the life is different there.
Yeah, on the metro, I'm about 30 minutes away. So I wouldn't be considered city center. I wouldn't be considered suburbs either. I'm probably like right on the edge.
Yeah.
Which is how I like it. So, you know, because it sounds like
Yeah.
right on the edge, which is how I like it. That can be the
Yeah.
tagline for this video. But you know what I mean. It's
Yeah.
not super dense city. It's not totally out in the middle of nowhere either. We have come to our video ending surprise.
We promised you a surprise to the end of the video, and since we have an American expat living in Russia on the channel, called Expat American. By the way, it's a very catchy thing you say in the beginning. I'm an American living in Russia.
That's right. I so many cars. Hello and welcome to Expat American. I am the Expat American. That was just a demo. This is not Expat American. You're on Igor in Russia. But yes, and the shorts, right? Where am I? I'm an American who's been living in Russia for over a year and a half with my wife and 5 children under sanctions.
Excellent. So we promised you guys a surprise, and this is the surprise. In the center of, Moscow is super international city. There's nothing like odd about this restaurant, but it's cool that we have a real American diner, well, as real as it can get, in the city, quite city center. And this is, well, it's American diner, right?
It is absolutely an American diner. It is completely an American diner. And
is this the place you can buy a Coca-Cola?
I would assume so. I've eaten here, and actually there are at least 3 American diners. And I actually did a video on it that you can find. And for me, I'm not a fast food expert, but it is completely like I'm in America eating at an American diner. So if you're Russian and you want to know what it's like, this is good enough for you to get the experience.
And we have these American figurines, Minnie Mouse. I don't know, these are like silent movie stars. No.
Well, some of them are. So you got random American stuff for a Russian to think is American.
That's Madonna. No, it's Marilyn Monroe.
That's Marilyn Monroe.
I'm joking.
But you know what's cool? What's interesting is we're in Russia, right? And they've got American restaurants all over the place. In New York, in America, they had a Russian neighborhood. And in the past year, they've been taking down all the signs.
Are you serious?
And they've been changing the names of the streets.
What beach was it?
Brighton Beach.
Brighton Beach. Are you serious?
Yes, because of the political situation now.
So are they switching to Ukrainian there?
Yes, they are.
Seriously?
Yes, they are. And I hear that the actual Russians living there, they just say that they are that, or they keep their mouths shut. And so the thing to think about with this detail is who really is tolerant. If I can live here in Russia and they're fine with American stuff, but I can't go live in America and say that I have any connection with Russia without people shouting me down the street. Who really are the tolerant ones?
Yeah, I know what you mean. I see that. To me, I would say to those people that they basically stab in their own culture, especially if they're like, do you have a video about that?
No, I just spoke to someone because my wife helps Westerners immigrate to Russia. They want to be rescued. They want to be saved from the craziness of the West. And we talk to different people. And I was talking to a guy who's living in New York right now, and he's like, guess what, Joe? This is what's happening. So
crazy. On this unfortunate note, I think we should get some Coca-Cola Zero. Will we?
If you want to.
Yeah, I'm exhausted. There's so many good stories that, and we'll be speaking non-stop. We need to get a drink. Guys, subscribe to Expat American, link in the description or in the topic. Let's see, probably both. Subscribe to the channel, and at minimum, leave a like.
Watch your interview on my channel and learn more about you.
Yeah, if you want to. We're gonna probably talk about the way I see maybe Russia and from the Western perspective. I lived all my life in Finland. That's Europe, and life is very different. It changes on the border as you go, like totally. From service to people's how you behave. It's
really,
yeah, and it's great. We both are great. All right, guys, bye bye from Moscow, Russia.